Hello and welcome to another video. It's probably been a while since you guys heard my voice on the channel just because I haven't been making that many videos lately and they've pretty much all been like footage related. I'm sorry about that. Next season or back starting around maybe probably around March, this will be a lot more back to normal, but I'm going to try to at least get a few videos out in the next 2.5 months. So this is going to be the first one, and for today's video, what I'm going to be doing is my first video that I ever made was top 9 roller coasters at Six Flags St. Louis, and this is going to be a remake of that video because my opinions have changed a lot. So if you want to see a really terrible video, this one's still not that great because I'm just not great at with YouTube, but this is my best effort. If you want to see an even worse video, go back and watch my first video, and if you want to see how my opinions have changed in the last, I don't remember exactly when the video came out, but it's been well over a year now. If you want to see how my opinions have changed on Six Flags St. Louis roller coasters in the last 18 or so months, go back and watch that video, and you also can find out what I think now by watching this video. Let's get started. At number 9 on the list, I have Boomerang. Now, this is a coaster that has started to become a lot more reliable this past season. It was actually open a lot more than it was closed, unlike in the past, but that didn't really mean I rode it that more. Or that much more. Basically, it's just not that great of a ride. It's not really. It's kind of rough, but like it's not as rough as some people say. But the thing that's bad about it is like how much it jerks. It's like really jerky, and when you, especially on the second lift hill, it's pretty painful how it like drags you up. Kind of. I'm There's much better, more technical terms I could be using, but I don't know them unfortunately. So. This is all I have to say. Yeah, I wouldn't be that upset if they removed it. But I also wouldn't be that upset if they keep it either because, let's be honest, are we really going to be getting anything great in that spot? Probably not. But I don't know. I just wish it wasn't as uncomfortable of a ride, and then I'd probably ride it more. It was definitely my least ridden coaster in the park for 2020, even though it was actually probably not the least reliable. No. Well, if it was the least reliable, it wasn't by much. At the number 8 spot on this list, I have River King Mine Train, and this is not really like a bad coaster or anything. It's actually probably pretty good for what it is, but it's not like that exciting or anything. So that's why it has to go this low on the list. It is a pretty fun, like I said, it's good for what it is, which means it is a pretty fun ride. This doesn't like, as more of like a thrills person, it isn't really that exciting, but I do like it what it is for the history of it and like how it's went through a lot of different changes and stuff and how it's a really old ride that was original to the park. So that is the good part about it. Yeah, it just doesn't really do that much. I'd say the best part of the ride is probably at the end. There's a pretty good drop, and if you're in the back, you even get a little bit of airtime on that. So that's pretty cool, I'd say. Yeah, it's definitely a ride I'd recommend riding, but it's not something you're gonna want to like marathon or anything that like or anything like that. So that's why it's down here at number 8. At number 7, I have Pandemonium, and this is one that I think could maybe be a spot or two higher sometimes, but it's just really hard to rank these, so it's gonna come all the way down to number 7. I've decided this is one that it's pretty good. It's definitely one of my favorite family coasters. I will say that, and it just kind of it varies a lot depending on the ride of how on what on when you well on different rides how good it is. And I think the big factor of that is like I don't weigh enough. Like if I ride it alone, which I usually do because I usually go to this park alone. So when I ride it by myself, it doesn't I don't really weigh enough to make it spin a lot, so it's kind of a boring ride. But if I ride it with other people or occasionally by myself, it'll just spin like crazy out of control. And on those rides, it is a really fun ride and really good. And also, sometimes if it's running fast, you can get some decent airtime towards the end of the ride. And that's why it is a ride I do enjoy, and I do like to ride on a fairly regular basis at this park. At number 6, I have what might be an unpopular pick to be decided by a lot of people, but I have Ninja at number 6. And most people were probably expecting this. Well, people that know me weren't expecting it, but people that don't know me that well we're probably expecting this to be last on the list. But for me, it's actually at number 6, a little bit higher. And I don't hate this ride like most people do. I think it's a pretty fun ride overall. It's nothing amazing. That's why it's down at number 6 and not higher. But it is a ride I do enjoy, and it's something I'll like. A lot of people think, oh, you just want to ride this for the credit, but no, this is something that I'm gonna try to ride pretty much every time I go to the park. If it's not something that it's not one of my favorites or anything, so it's not a big deal to me if I have to skip it or something like that. But it's one I always try. I usually try to ride at least once, and it doesn't get. Sometimes it can get a bit of a line, but most of the time it doesn't have the long of a line, so that also helps. And just my thoughts on the ride is it's not really that rough. A few bits are really the part that mainly is rough is the Sidewinder. That part's terrible. I can't, even though I do like it. That's the one thing I can't defend about the ride is Sidewinder's awful. The rest of it's fun though. If you're in the back, it has pretty good airtime on the first drop. The Helix is pretty fun. It has a good near miss element. Overall, I think it's a solid ride, even though most people hate it. At number 5, I have another one that some people might say is a little controversial, especially since I ranked it. I'm pretty sure I didn't actually go back and watch the old video for making this, but I'm pretty sure I ranked this a little bit higher the first time. But at number 5, I have American Thunder. I will, I will make a case of why it should be a little bit higher than what I'm putting it down at number 5 as part of this. But as of right now, I have it at number 5. So I'll make both sides of the case about why I have it at number 5 and why it also could be higher than number. It really could possibly should be higher than this. So I'll say why I have it at number 5 is most of the time, especially in towards the end of 2019 and like after I made like around after I made the last video for this series, I guess. This isn't really supposed to be a series, but it's the second video with this exact same topic I've made, so I'll say it's a series. Um, but it didn't run that good, and then also for 2020, it didn't run that good most of the year. So basically, when it was like that, it was just not that fun of a ride. The airtime was all weak floater, and just didn't. It was slow and boring and stuff like that, which is why I dropped on number 5. And at times, I even put it at number 6 with either Ninja or Pandemonium above it. But I am going to put it number 5, and I will also make a case of why it should maybe be higher. Is back in like 2018, maybe early 2019 as well, and definitely around Holiday in the Park's 2020, it ran very well, and it was actually a really fun ride, and it has pretty good ejector airtime in the back when you ride it like that, and with the GCI restraints, you can get pretty good room, which makes it a really fun ride. And since I did say it was running like this during Holiday in the Park 2020, even though it did not the most of the year. So if it continues to try like that to run like this into the 2021 season, I probably gonna have to move it up at least 1 or 2 spots due to it being a lot better. In the number 4 position is where I have Batman the Ride. And this is one that is kind of just the coaster on this part of the list are just really close together and hard to rank. So this one is going to come down to number 4. But it is a ride I do really enjoy, actually, even though it's at number 4 and not in the top 3. Uh, why I like it is it's a very intense coaster. And a lot of people say if you want to go the most intense ride, I know you want to ride in the back. But with my experiences, when you ride in the front is actually when you feel forces and intensity the most. However, I don't actually do that much because due to the flash pass system, if I try to ride in the front, even if the front row wasn't like more popular, well, it is obviously more popular, so more people are going to go for it. But even if it wasn't that way, it would take a very long time to ride it in that row due to all the flash pass people taking that row, and then you never can get on. Which is the same case on all the coasters, but most of the coasters, the front row is not my favorite row, but this one it is. And so that makes it hard to ride in the front. I'm not going to go into detail too much about the actual ride because probably everyone watching this video has ridden a Batman clone at some point, so you know what it's like. This one, I've only ridden one other Batman clone, but from what I've heard, this is one of the more intense Batman clones out there. So that's a good thing about it is that it's a pretty intense ride. And yeah, even with the front row is where I like it the most. But especially this year, I got to ride that even less due to it having. I only rode this coaster probably 10, 15 times this year, despite riding others like 40, 50, or even 99 times this year, because the line was just too long. It was always like 2 hours long, and I just did not want to wait in that. Um, and yeah, when I did finally get to the station, on the few times I did ride it, did not want to wait extra for the front due to all the flash people taking it. because it's kind of a dumb system how they do it, where they come from the exit instead of like they should have a merge in for the station, which is what they used to do, but now they don't. So that's really annoying. And also, the main reason that the line was so long on it was because they only put people in half the rows now due to COVID, which is it's a really stupid policy because it just makes the lines really long, and then people don't do the social distancing in the line, so that's kind of a that's a losing battle. So you might as well just put people in all the rows so the line doesn't get that long, and that's probably less of a risk. And also, you can actually have an enjoyable day at the park when it's fairly busy because the lines are not all 2 hours long. But oh yeah, okay, I got a little off track here, but yeah, overall I think it's a pretty fun coaster, and it comes in at number 4. Coming in at number 3 is one that is a bit unfortunate, and that's Screaming Eagle. The reason that's a bit unfortunate is because it could have definitely been number 2 on this list, but due to it being closed for holiday in the park, it didn't really have a chance to defend itself against having a good ride on another coaster that's at number 2. That you probably already know what it is, but yeah, it ends up here at number 3 due to that. It's a really fun. This is one. It's a classic. It's a really enjoyable ride. Definitely one of like personally, it's one of my favorite coasters. It isn't rank. It's not in my top 10 or anything, but personally, it's one of my favorites. Just it's a classic ride. It's one I really enjoy. My favorite parts about it is the airtime, and it is mostly floater airtime, but it's still fun, and it does have some ejector airtime if you're on the back, so that uh, fills that gap for it, I guess. I do wish it still had the buzz bars. I did not get a ride when I had those, but it must have been much better because that airtime would have just been insane with that. But yeah, overall, this is it's the park's one of the park's classic rides, and it's one I really enjoy. Overall, it's an all around really fun ride, and that's what comes in at number 3 on this list. In the number 2 position, I have Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast. This was a coaster that I recently had at number 3, but due to getting a good ride on it during, well, the beginning of holiday in the park, because the most recent time that I went, it valleyed before I could ride it. So, yeah, you probably all saw that video because it's my second most viewed video on my channel now, and the number 1 most viewed video is also has to do with Mr. Freeze. So, guess this has been a coaster that's been good for my YouTube channel, I guess. But yeah, in terms of the ride, it's a very intense coaster, just like Batman the Ride. This one, I really enjoy the inverted top hat. It's a very fun inversion, and I also enjoy going up and down the spike well, I guess in the middle of it. Um, yeah, but if the second launch can also fail, and that means that it's gonna valley if it does, and that happened last time I was there, and I got part of it on camera, so that was cool. But yeah, the reason it comes in at this list is due to it being, or the reason it's number 2 on this list is due to it being very intense. And the reason I moved up is because the last time that I rode it, it was just launching so fast, and it like blew through the top hat and didn't even slow down at all, which it was just a lot more intense that way. And it didn't even, in the past when I've got, usually it's not very rough, but in the past when I have gotten these very fast rides on it, it's been pretty rough and bad rattle, but this time it wasn't really at all that much. So I had a really good ride on it, and that's why I moved up on this list. And coming in at number 1 on this list, you guessed it, Boss, which has been, it's not, well, it's actually not always been my favorite coaster at this park, but I'm pretty sure I put it as number 1 in the last video. And I probably, if you went back and watched the last video, I probably said some stupid stuff about it or about any of the coasters. Like I'm pretty sure I said that it was open for holiday in the park in the last one, which is definitely not true, obviously. I didn't even, maybe I didn't say, maybe I'm just making that up and I didn't say that, but um, yeah, actually, I'd only been to like Holiday in the Park once by the time I made that video, and I guess I probably just forgot that it wasn't open. So if I did, maybe I didn't even say that, but if I did, I'm sorry about that. Obviously, it's not because, well, it might valley if they did that. It probably wouldn't, but they think it would, so they don't run it. Or maybe it's other reasons they don't run it. I don't know. Well, it's more to do with it's hard for it to get warmed up when it's like super cold. So if it's like once it gets going, even if it's cold, it should be fine. Most likely to not valley or have any problems, but that can happen sometimes. And now to the ride itself, it's a really great ride, and it's one of my favorite coasters, definitely. but I mean, it's also my most ridden coaster, so it kind of makes sense. So this is one I really like to marathon a lot. It is a bit rough, but it's not really that rough, honestly. And I forgot to mention this about Screaming Eagle, but Screaming Eagle is very smooth now. It used to be a bit rough, but it got very smooth after they retracted it. And the boss, they retracted that too, and it's not 100% smooth, but it's a lot. It's not as bad as it used to be. It's overall generally pretty smooth. It's not perfect, but I think it's they did a good job with it. And it's mostly, I think it was more after the date. It was not because of I never rode it with the Helix because I didn't move here until 2018, which was after they already removed it. But I don't really think that was why, because it was in 2018 it was still kind of a bit rough, or more rough, at least more rough than it is now. But in 2019 it got pretty good, and I think in that off season is when they did some other retracking, which made it get a lot smoother. And this ride is one it's mostly good for its airtime, which it's not like an airtime packed ride, but it does have a lot of it. And if you ride in the back, then you can get some ejector airtime, or even in the front you can get some too, but not as much. Um, and it also has pretty good speed, which is the other thing about it. The pacing's not perfect, but when it has speed, it's pretty good speed. And overall, this is a coaster that I really enjoy. It's one of my favorites. It's a special coaster to me due to being the best coaster in my home park. And yeah, that's why it comes in at number one on this list. And this is going to be the end of the video. Thank you all for watching. I was not even planning to make a video today. I kind of just did this out of the blue really randomly, but I did, so I actually finished it, so this is going to be coming out because this is at the end now. So thank you all for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed the video, and make sure, if you like the video, leave a like. If you didn't like it, leave a dislike. If you want to let me know your thoughts on the video, leave a comment, and if you want to see more of my videos, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.